Hello. I don't know whether we're live yet or not, but if we are, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this session on Queensland exploration, where we're going to look at the opportunities for exploration and the expansion into the energy sector in Queensland. Over the last 12 months, ASX resource companies have spent, or juniors, the juniors alone have spent 86 million on exploration, of which 48% was spent on oil and gas exploration, 21% on base metals, 18% on gold, 4% on battery minerals, 3% on coal and 6% on 7 other commodities. That's the Queensland story. And whilst metalliferous areas are limited in the state, there's opportunities. So let's hear now from our panel. First of all, from Tony Knight. Tony, given that exploration is gradually getting deeper and more challenging, where's the department focusing its efforts in providing new open file information on geology, geophysics, etc.?
Yeah, great question, Rob. And look, I think to summarise, we're throwing the full toolkit at it. There's a discovery drought going on globally, so we need to make sure we use every bit of information that we've got access to. So from a geology survey point of view, we're doing new surveys, particularly geophysics and geochemistry, trying to push the discovery frontier at depth undercover. So a fair bit of magnetotellurics, MT geophysics, which is really important, but also geochemistry, hydrogeochemistry, all that good stuff. We're also making sure that we tap into that we already have, which goes back decades. So there's a lot of energy going into unlocking that data. One of the key things we're doing there is changing the confidentiality periods around data. It doesn't make sense to have data in Queensland held confidential for the life of a tenure when we've got problems to solve. So we're trying to work through that now with the industry. It's quite a positive development there. New data systems too. So I think I can say without exaggeration that come the launch of our new open data portal on the 3rd of August of this year, Queensland will have a world-leading geoscience data system in place that will be integrated with spatial search capability, lots and lots of data, lots and lots of tools that can be enabled from that data system, machine learning, all that, those good things people are using now. And the fourth element we're really pushing hard on is knowledge transfer. We collectively, industry, academia and government know a lot and have done a lot over decades. But what's happened is that knowledge hasn't always been transferred effectively across to the industry explorers that use it. That's a big part of our push now, is that knowledge transfer. We're doing things like developing deposit atlases to bring together information, a lot of webinars too, simply just sharing what's going on. So, Rob, there's a lot of activity and we're very conscious of the urgency of our challenge.
Great to see you, Tony. Kate, where are you seeing your Queensland members focusing their attention this year, and what has been the impact of COVID-19 on their activity?
Thanks, Rob. To follow on from Tony's question about data, some of the companies have used the COVID break as an opportunity to stop and have a look at their data and do some project and exploration planning. But generally the impact of COVID has been different for different companies, but most of the impact has been due to travel restrictions, both interstate and intrastate movements being impacted. Many of the AMEC Explorer members have headquarters in other states, and this has made site access really difficult. Also getting cultural clearances has also been hard. Although there are declared travel zones for remote communities, it's still been restrictive. We're looking forward to the Queensland Chief Health Officer declaring stage 3, which removes all travel restrictions, including entry and quarantine requirements. As for the rest of 2020, our members are going to be trying to make up the field time they've lost and get as much work done as possible before the wet season. And from looking at your Austex daily report, Rob, it's clear there's still money around and people are still keen to invest in junior explorers. So companies will be out there spending DNRME's collaborative exploration initiative funding to find the new economy minerals and the minerals we need for the future.
Thanks very much. Georgy, much of the focus of recent time has been on the development of the resources or sources of domestic gas from the Surat and Cooper. Has that been successful, and has Queensland been able to reduce the cost of energy for our dear friends in the southern state as a result?
Oh, look, it's a good question. I mean, we're really fortunate in Queensland because we have a government which is really supportive of not just the the resources sector, but gas very much so. And the government has, we've had rolling acreage releases and relief for our junior explorers as well. But I guess the reality is, if you're looking at the East Coast gas market, Queensland is doing all the heavy lifting and has done for decades. And more supply also is going to put pressure, downward pressure on prices to a degree. But at the end of the day, the pipeline itself from Queensland down to the southern states, it can only take so much gas, and really it's up to, we want to see New South Wales and Victoria start to lift moratoriums and open up the open up for gas exploration, and that's when you'll really see. That'll be a game changer for the East Coast gas market. But thank God for
Thank you very much, Kim. The announcement last week from the Queensland Government on increasing funding for explorers is certainly positive news. What is the funding all about, and will it make a difference across this very challenging time?
Thanks, Rob. Look, the funding definitely will make a difference, and we have a mixed bag of explorers at the moment. We're seeing a lot of investment coming into the gold space and maybe not in some of the other areas as well. And that typically happens in different markets, as we know. But the announcement last week for the funding for $10 million will actually help some of those junior explorers who may have either pushed back or are looking at conserving their cash across this time. If they actually, push back their exploration, it can have long-term effects on their projects, especially if they're listed on the ASX. So if they're not doing any work, they're not getting any announcements out, which means that they're getting not as much interest in their project as they possibly could or should. I guess the big benefit of this one as well is it's direct cash, so there's no dollar-to-dollar matching, which we've seen sometimes in these types of incentives in the past. So they can actually apply for up to $200,000, and that will come directly into their company for their program. It's also Queensland-wide and in New Economy Minerals Queensland-wide, so it's not specific to a location, I guess. And I guess the good news is for that is that will be that's jobs for communities, and if those projects advance then onto mines, it's just good for the state.
Thanks very much, Kim. Back to Tony. Tony, in our view, the area around Cloncurry, particularly to the north, and maybe even to the south with what red metal are finding there, but in the northwest corner of the state, with independents moving in on Century, they offer the best opportunities for new Tier 1 metalliferous discoveries. Would the department concur, or do you see other opportunities? Can't hear you, Tony.
We'd agree with that, Rob. Clearly, the Northwest Minerals Province is a highly prospective area, has been for decades and still will be for many more decades. The issue is this depth challenge we've got. That area around Cloncurry certainly is prospective, a lot of activity there. But we've also seen companies like Anglo American move in a big way into the northwest too, and they're a bit further southwest of that area. That pleases me because it just says that explorers are looking broadly across the entire province. That's really positive for Queensland.
Thanks very much. Back to Kate. What's the biggest red or green tape issues facing your members in granting and maintaining tenements in Queensland at this time?
This is a really easy one, Rob. What's costing companies money and time is environmental approvals. Everyone agrees that this is an extremely important part of the process, and part of the reason Queensland has a good reputation for responsible and sustainable mining practices. But there are some really clever environmental scientists and engineers out there who really know their stuff, and they've got great ideas to do things even better than best practice. It would be great to see if the Department of Environment and Science could embrace more quickly some of the out-of-the-box thinking and some new technology and techniques that has good outcomes for both in the environment and the mining industry. there really needs to be a way to encourage rehabilitation projects without too much of an additional burden on the companies. So it'll be really interesting to see how the new Rehabilitation Commissioner can positively impact these types of challenges.
Yeah, it's certainly a big issue, I think, from what we're seeing with everyone. It's taking a long, long time to get permitting up particularly through the environmental side. Georgie, back to you. I noticed the announcement recently by Galilee Energy confirming separation of the coal sequence aquifers with that of the overlying Great Artesian Basin. Do you feel that this will help assist reduce the time of approval for coal and gas development in the Galilee, given that there is a definite separation there?
Well, I mean, firstly, I have to congratulate Galilee for putting that out and sharing that information, because there was a time when maybe the industry wouldn't have, but the Great Artesian Basin and groundwater is a huge issue for our industry, and it's important that the industry takes responsibility for that and does these tests and can emphatically say the seams are separated. I guess the question, will that change the regulatory approval process? I would hope that with companies now being proactive in managing their environmental obligations, and as Kate said before, we have some very smart people who specialise in this, that hopefully that will be taken on board, and we will see a speedier process. Can you guarantee it? That's up to the regulators. But I guess the other really important thing about what Galilee has done is that groundwater and the Great Artesian Basin are completely linked to social licence and the development of the Galilee Basin for gas. And I think more importantly, the approval, there's an approval process, but the other part for us is very much about social licence and being able to say to the community it's safe and the gap is safe. So, here's hoping. Here's hoping.
Well done. Yeah, here's hoping. Back to Kim again. Bear with me a minute. Kim, Queensland is known for its coal. Internationally. Do you think we'll be able to attract enough investment interest in minerals in Queensland to significantly develop underexplored areas?
That's a really good question, Rob. And I think it's sometimes the elephant in the room, I guess. And look, our met coal is world class, and it's been around, Australia in particular has been known for its quality coal for a very long time, and in Queensland in particular in the Bowen Basin. So it's established and it's resilient. And I know they're finding it hard at the moment with the coal price, but it just typically takes one construction surge worldwide and suddenly we're booming again. But I do believe that there is room for us to have two significant or more groups of commodities where we're able to promote minerals worldwide and have the same type of response. But I guess, and I'm probably not saying it very articulately, but what we need to actually do is get out and drill the ground. And I see that in your reports, Rob, it's all good to have all this data analysis, but get out and do some drilling. And to do that, we need to support the grassroots exploration community to get out and do that all over the state. And then we will actually see that life's, stages of a mine develop, and 80% of discoveries are found from the junior end. And what typically happens, they get out and they do the grassroots exploration, they get a resource, they go to pre-feasibility and feasibility, and then once that happens, those big companies come in and buy them out. And to be able to develop our northwest and the rest of the state in new economy and critical minerals, we need to get back to the grassroots exploration and attract the investment into the state to do that at the same time. So in answer to your question, I do think that we can grow our new economy minerals. We can get mines in these areas. We need to build on what we had with Mount Isa and promote that to the rest of the world. But we really do need to support the industry to get the drilling happening in these regions.
Well, thanks for that. We still have some time up our sleeve. I guess one of the challenges we've had with metalliferous attracting metalliferous attention into the northwest and other areas, is the fact that we are one of only 2 mainland areas, the other being the Northern Territory, that has not had a significant new mineral discovery in the last 12 months. How do we change that? How do we get out there, find that new discovery and attract this sort of attention that the Western Australia or even Victoria, South Australia and New South Wales have been able to enjoy? Kim, we might continue with you and then we'll go back to the others because we still have about 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, look, I really think that just back to what I was building on before, it's refocusing the marketing of the state and the discoveries we've found in the past. And I really think that what's happened typically before is that the big guys have gone out looking for the same type of project, but there may not be huge discoveries there. But what we are seeing is smaller companies coming in and finding smaller resources and piecing them together as large projects. And I think maybe the way we market the discovery potential is something that we could change and maybe promote some of those people who are having success in those areas in Queensland where they've got smaller mines, but they've actually acquiring different tenements and so forth or leases around those mines so that they can build their project.
Yeah, great challenge for the QEC, Kim.
Thanks.
Tony, from your perspective, where can we get a discovery? Can Red Metal find one up there? There's also Strategic Energy. There's a few little companies that are up in that Concurry mix, or will it come from one of the big guys like, say, Independence or Newmont coming in with lots of dollars? What's your view?
It could be both of those, Rob. I think the issue for discovery of base metal deposits and tier 1, as you're saying, is the cost. The cost of exploration, the cost of drilling is very, very high. You've got to do a lot of work beforehand and getting all the data you can, the geophysics and so on. That's not cheap either. So really, I think we've either got to see the majors come in and do the work or majors partnering with juniors to bring the domain knowledge, the area knowledge, together with the financial resources, technical resources that the big end of town can bring.
Very good. We still have a couple of minutes and I don't think we have any questions from the audience. So we'll keep going on that scene. Yeah, you mentioned the cost, of course, and the WA equivalent to that is the Patterson province, where basically a lot of juniors have gone in, taken up ground and been able to attract majors as joint venture partners. Georgie, any chance of support from our great oil and gas companies to look for mineral deposits below some of our well-known basins, the Cooper, the Surat and so forth?
Well, obviously that's really, I could ask. But I guess, when you're looking, hypothetical, look, I think, they're out there drilling it and they're producing core, and that's more data. And, historically, the minerals and coal sector have, engaged with the oil and gas sector to share data. So, look, it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible. And I think, there's a new frontier out there. And given that things are getting more expensive and getting access is harder and we have more red and green tape than we've ever had, a new way of thinking about it and working together, I think is absolutely worth, it's what we need.
Okay, great. Well, it's time to wrap up. So I'd like to thank very much Georgie, Kim, Kate and Tony. And for anyone out there that's been listening to us, thanks very much for being part of this seminar on Queensland exploration. And here's to Queenslander or Queenslanders. And I hope that we have a very successful second half of the year with lots of exploration. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.